Good afternoon, guys.
There we are.
We are live and at 7 tonight on Tuesday night. Today's bite gonna be a great show tonight, guys. As we get everybody coming in, everybody knows the routine. Go ahead and hit that 25K crop connection. Little update even on that to give you guys. I checked a moment ago on YouTube. We're at 11,084 subscribers, which is excellent. It's growing every single day. On YouTube, we're about 1,500 followers away from breaking that 50,000 followers on YouTube. On Facebook. So we're about that close on Facebook. So keep on sending those invites out, inviting your buddies to join us every week. Great show, great topics every week. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it as much as I do, and I know Dustin is he's on the same line.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weather's changing. The wind's been blowing. It's been challenging, but it's been productive. So
the wind's been whipping here too as well. Today was like 30, 40 mile per hour gust at least. It was wild on the lake. But I did go to Grand Lake. I got a fishing report for Grand Lake finally, and it's good. The fish are fired up, and I'm fired up.
Bunch of comments already, guys, too. Appreciate everybody coming on here as usual. Bubba, Rod, let me see, Charles, Travis, Colby, Robert, Jeffrey, Nathan, Josh. I mean, good gracious, guys. Appreciate you guys every night coming on here on Tuesday nights. That's an awesome feeling that we've got so much support from you guys. First off, I want to kind of thank everybody that made the time and went out to the Crappie Madness, especially here at Pearl, and come down and visit me. Reggie, Charles, Stewart, it's several other guys that jumped in there and actually come down and got to talk crappie fishing with me for a while. Had Hugh Crews with B&M down there and did the seminars with me. We had a really good time, real good turnout, especially considering how nice it was Saturday. So it was a good deal. Appreciate from Bass Pro Shops for recognizing us crappie fishermen into their world, to say, knowing it's a Bass Pro Shop. It's kind of interesting to me that even with the Bass Pro Shops here in Pearl, if you go into stores, most of the time you'll notice that their highest selling categories are up front by the cash registers. And what's really unique about our Pearl Walmart is crappie fishing is right by the cash registers. And several years ago, I asked the store manager about that, and he said, well, we put our top selling categories near the front of the store. So crappie fishing is dominating here at the Bass Pro Shops in Pearl, which is an awesome feeling. I know it's one of the top crappie stores as far as crappie fishing goes out there. So it's something to be proud about. We should change it, actually, the name of it, and we could even suggest that is, instead of Bass Pro Shops, we can call it Crappie Pro Shops.
Crappie Pro Shops, yeah.
I think we need to do that.
Crappie Pro jig head, so it fit right in there.
Right.
I sold a few of those. Well, I was actually at the Springfield Bass Pro, and it was a blast. I loved meeting everybody. It was actually popping for, I guess, a Saturday at the Springfield Bass Pro is no joke, especially where the museum comes in and out, or the new aquarium. So a lot of people were coming in and out, and Crappie Kirby was there giving some seminars. I half hopped in one with him. I just kind of stood there and looked pretty while he talked. He had a deal with the PowerPoint slides, on a little TV. Yeah. It was a cool little setup. So, and there was a lot of people. And then after the show, a lot of talking and just talking crappie. So who doesn't like that? I'd say, Brad, I don't know what your biggest seller was, but I don't know. I had two big ones. One of them really is the bleeding shad. I got a lot of those. A lot of those were bought. There was just a couple left by the time we left, or by the time I left, there was a couple left on the rack. So that was cool. But I would say the 50 count was definitely a hit. The new 50 count baby shads.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'd say Blue Ice was the top seller here. Blue Ice actually definitely was top seller. A lot of clear lakes where we're at, though, around Springfield. Yeah. A lot of clear water. And, you have Bull Shoals. You got Table Rock, just all these clear lakes, and Grand, all them lakes. So it was definitely pushed towards a clear water bait. But Blue Ice was a heavy one. Everybody was looking for the Blue Ice in a live roamer. And
you know why everybody was looking for the Blue Ice?
What?
Did you see the post? I think we got it last Tuesday night or after the show, or last Wednesday, about the lady over, and I can look back on my phone, and somebody might even post it up there, but she caught like a 394 on a Bobby Garland baby shad blue eye.
Oh, yeah. That's probably why. You're right.
That's why. I mean, that fish right there would make me go buy some of them if I didn't have them.
I never actually thought about that, but that's true. I forgot about that giant being caught on that. There's a lot of people good. I got great fishing reports too from people. Bull Shoals is on fire, supposedly catching a lot of big 12 to 14-inch black crappie, and just smoking them. So, and that was another blue ice color. He also loved the black hot pink. So,
I've got a fishing report too. I fished 2 different lakes since last Tuesday night. Fished Eagle Lake and also Ross Barnett. And I'll do one of the fishing reports of Spores, and then I'll let Dustin do one. Then I'll come back and do the other lake.
And I have 2.
It's going to be like 3 fishing reports for the 2 of us.
4. Yeah, I fished 2 lakes as well.
Great.
Oh yeah, actually 3, but I'm just going to go 2.
Okay. I'll start off with Ross Barnett. Last week, I fished there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday last week, and everybody knows that the wind blew like the Dickens last week as well. So, and when I'm talking wind blowing, I'm talking 20+ mile an hour. Not a very place on the main body of water to fish when that kind of wind comes through area. So I had to go up river, and wouldn't you know, the first place I went to, ghost town. Empty. Nothing but shad in it. And I'm like, oh man. Went through there and looked around, I'm going to say 10, 15 minutes. Really figured out quick it wasn't the place I wanted to be. Just wasn't seeing the fish. Went back to the main river system, checked some of the stumps that, right on the edge of the river that are usually good. And we're at the stage where the current's been slacking off. We haven't had as much rain here recently, so the current's starting to back off the river system some. Went and checked some really good stumps and stuff I know on the river. Ghost town, nothing. So, and I've got clients of mine all the way from Illinois fishing with me, and I mean these guys drove 8 hours to come crappie fishing. So it's a big responsibility to a guide to put in everything they have. And so I threw down my trolling motor and I said, you know what, we're just going to really break it down, and threw the trolling motor on high and seen a cut coming out into the river that had some current pushing into the river, and noticed an area that had a lot of gar in it, which means to me that's an area that those gar are there for a reason. They're feeding up on something. And all of a sudden I looked to the left in a little pocket off the side, right pretty close to the bank, and noticed a giant fish just swimming right beside us about 8 to 10 feet away, and got the climb over, dropped the pole down on the fish. Fish whirled around, smacked it. 2 something, about 2 1/4. Great. Probably one of the biggest fish he's caught, especially from being up north coming down. Caught that fish, looked back around, and sure enough, I see a little pocket. And it's only about 20 to 30 feet long, but it's just a perfect scenario. Like I said, it has current coming out of a creek, going into the main river channel itself, and it just created an eddy off to the side of it. And those fish were just stacked up along it. And we stayed there and made a really good day of it. I mean, but the main thing that I had to kind of keep in mind was just keep searching and looking and not giving up, because it's real discouraging when you go to some of the spots that you have a lot of confidence in and it's ghost town. It's nothing. And you're like, man, what am I going to do? I've got these guys, you got this pressure on you, regardless if you got a buddy in your boat or your wife or whoever else, you as the guy kind of running the boat have a little pressure trying to figure out where these fish could be at.
Absolutely.
But found these fish sitting in a little pocket right off the river. Perfect scenario. I mean, I couldn't have wrote it in a textbook any better. But I really just found it that day just by looking, just paying attention and come across that. But wound up fishing there Thursday, winded the day with 20+ keepers. Friday, fished one little area right on the edge of the river and the main lake. Wind still howled all day. We targeted open suspended water crappie. Thing is just getting on them in high wind, and really had to upsize on my live scope presentation the weights above them, probably close to 3/4 of an ounce, just to kind of keep that bait in position, because the boat and and even the poles getting pushed by the wind gusts. And
3/4 ounce, man. That's some weight on that bad boy.
Yeah.
What were you using jig wise to feel that? Did you even feel the bite, or did you just set
No.
it? Okay.
No, we never felt a bite Friday. Which
Wow.
I didn't feel any of them, but my clients, I've seen the bites every time before they set the hook. I'm still using a 32nd ounce, anywhere from a 80 bit. And I've been really liking either solid white, like a glacier or monkey milk, or even the chartreuse. Blue ice would have been good. I did not blue ice. I didn't think about that fish report of the day. But we stayed with them. Caught fish both days. Friday, I think we had 5 over 2 pounds. Really good fish. Just
that's great.
Awesome another day. And then I'm gonna wait to tell you my other lake report here in a second.
I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to tell you. I guess I'll just go into one. Me and Brandon, the picture you actually posted on for the show. Me and Brandon finally got to fish together. I say together, we both were in our own boats, but fishing the same area. And let me tell you, he's a fish finding and a fish catching monster. We sat there and pretty much just BS'd and caught fish. We were just sitting there talking to each other and catching fish. It was a blast. I was throwing them all back, but just kind of looking in areas and finding fish. I used several baits, and some fish were spooky. And it may have been because of the pressure. There was quite a few boats kind of coming in and out of there. But those bigger fish, it would seem like I tried several different baits, and they would come up, nose it, and swim off. So that tells you they're wanting to eat something. You just had to find the right bait. And a few times they'd bite, and a few times they wouldn't. So then I just started going through all the baits. You know how it works. And man, by the end of it, I think the best bite I had was just before I left, and it may have been the time of day too, but I put on the threadfin shad itty bit, and it was just a tiny with a redhead 24th ounce and a big weight on top because the wind was whipping. And I finally had them hitting it, and you could just kind of drag it across them. They would peel up and get them to follow it and eat it. But the second best bait was bone white chartreuse, and that was a really good slab slayer, the 2 1/4 inch or 2 inch, whichever one they are. But those 2 baits did really well. They were just loaded in the channel, really. And you could get off the channel. We found some fish, which blew my mind. He told me they were like this, but you know how it is, Brad. So I might tell you how the fish are. You're like, we'll see when I get there. Let me tell you, Brandon is full telling the truth about these fish. And I went up on these laydowns on the bank off the channel, and there was blackfish up 2 to 4 foot deep already. I mean, the water was 55 to 57 where we were at, and up in that bank, of course. And these fish were already, I caught a few that were starting to change colors, kind of feeling it. I mean, they're getting in the mood, and it got me excited. I mean, it lit a fire. I've been fishing about, I think maybe 2-3 times since, and this was only 2 days ago. I've been boat ramp trying to get out of the wind. I went to Grenada Lake today. I'll get into that after Brad's next fishing report. But the fish were loaded in there, and this was Hudson Lake, and really, like I said, when I threw my trolling motor down to where I picked it up, there was fish stacked everywhere, mixed in with a lot of white bass, and that's fun until they start cutting your hands up. But those white bass were wanting to set up just like a crappie, and it was killing. Usually I can tell because they're moving, and some of these big white bass were just sitting there floating, just like in the skies for the crappie. So I definitely would have to try them. And no, other than that, the size average, I bet if I didn't catch 60 fish, I caught 100. I mean, you kind of lose count, but there was a lot of fish, 12 to 14 inch range, a lot of good, healthy, thick fish. And it just was one of the days hidden from the wind. You could not ask for better. So Brandon, I appreciate it. And hopefully I tried to get some roamers in his hands. So hopefully he'll beat up some fish on them bad boys too. So that was a good time.
You know, and I seen somebody even ask about the color that I was using on the video that I posted, I guess last night, about long lining. I was long lining yesterday. It kind of gets confusing with all these days you get to fish, but I went to Eagle Lake. I had a couple clients that wanted to long line troll, so we went to Eagle Lake just because I know that bite's been really good as far as long lining. Those fish are aggressive. They'll run down a bait. Been really targeting the same depth of water that I have been fishing really the last month over there. I've been pulling 2 1/8s, about 1.2 target. As far as color, man, it's been like a well-oiled machine over there as far as color, and that color's blue chrome.
Oh yeah, I seen that in the video. I seen that in your video.
You know, and started out that morning, it was real overcast. So in my mind, I'm really thinking, all right, dark colors. And just from fishing the last couple of weeks, I knew that color's been good over there. So I just went all out. I think I had started out with 6 poles, all with blue chrome on them, and literally throughout the poles, I got my hand on another one to actually get it ready to cast out for this morning. And before I got the second one cast out, I had a fish on the first pole, and I was like, oh, it's about to be on. I'm going to give you the whole scenario of that lake, what I've been seeing over there, or really what I feel like is kind of happening. Those fish have been out in the deep water, and I'm talking 20 foot of water plus for the last 3 months, maybe even 4 months. And that's the deepest portion of the lake. Well, I know they're starting to have spawning in their mind, just like this pre-spawn pattern. And these fish are in a pre-spawn pattern over there because they're moving to the edge of this deep water. It doesn't have a river system or anything in it. It's an oxbow lake, so it's all closed in. It's silted in at the sides, and it's just like a bowl sitting there. But as the water temperature comes up and these fish are starting to want to really get in a pre-spawn pattern, they're going to get at the edges of this deeper water. Exactly what those fish did when I got there. I really wanted to target that deep edge of water, to say, where I knew they would go into the spawning flats. And like I said, first cast out, sat down, got ready for the second pole. It tightened up, had a fish on. And what made that fishing reel so unique at the time, it was double zone. And, you know, I get people on the boat all the time, and they ask, well, how many times do you catch doubles? As far as, because I like running 2 jigs whenever I'm longlining. And I say, you know, it does happen, but it don't happen like every trip by no means.
Yeah.
But sure enough, that day it happened, and both of them I seen when the fish popped up, and you can't really tell by that clip how far back those jigs were at the time, but they were running about 100 foot behind the boat. But I seen how those fish popped up, and I could hear the drag peeling as he's reeling. You know, he couldn't get any ground on it because of the drag. And I'm like, man, there's 2 good fish on it. So that's when I grabbed my phone, and it's kind of hard to try to net them in video at the same time, but we've got it done enough. But really good pre-spawn pattern kicking in. Long line is going to be real effective all spring long, especially in these lakes that before they get muddied up. If you can get a little clear days here and there, long lining will work for you guys this spring, I can promise you. But I guess that's my second today's bite.
All right. Yeah, let me hit you guys with this second one. This is me going out today in the 30 to 40 mile per hour wind. So my theory is if you go out to Grand Lake when it's windy enough, it just blows the fish in the boat. That way you ain't got to fish for them. But I actually put in a little hidden from the wind boat ramp. Now remember, Grand Lake and Hudson Lake are 2 different animals, because you say they all have their different
personalities.
Personalities. That Grand is definitely that for me. So Brandon Threadgill just got on here and said, my fish are still deep. It don't make sense. Well, Grand Lake's fish are still deep too. I jumped in, the water temperature is 47 to 51, kind of where I went, and it's 55 to 57 where I went. Now, I did go towards the river to get to the warmer water, but today on Grand Lake, I was mid-lake, and it was a lot cooler water, and I already knew I had my live scope. You know how you leave them tuned in for the place you were just fishing? I had it 20 feet deep, and I go where all these fish should be pre-spawn pattern, and I go on these secondary creeks. I hop in there and hop in the channel, start looking, and I'm not seeing anything. And then at the very bottom of my screen, I seen a little ball of shad go across it, just barely seen the tops of the shad. And I thought, oh boy. So I clicked my range down just a couple more feet to 30 foot instead of 20. And all the crappie were 25 to 28 foot deep, just off the bottom, and super aggressive. The water was a lot clearer though. So, I mean, that's kind of my theory is you got clearer water and colder water. They're going to be a little bit deeper, but the fish were there. I just was overlooking them, not having my screen down. So I put it down to 30 foot, and the fish were in pairs, singles and pairs, and just picking one at a time off. And I had to put a lot more weight on because, you know, I'm fishing that deep and that much wind was wild. So I had to put a lot more weight on. I dropped a 16th ounce down, and again, tried a couple colors. The first few I was questioning, are these crappie? Because they were turn away. They wouldn't even look hard at the bait. And I put on a glitter critter. The one bait I didn't grab from the boat, but I put on a glitter critter today, and it was in
What's
the
that color?
It's like the gold flake on top, and a clearish marbled belly. I figured you'd pull it up on there, Brad, but I figured
leave it on Brad.
Yeah. But no, the glitter critter was the ticket. These fish were coming. This is why I love Grand Lake so much. When you hit this time of year, those fish were that deep. But if your bait got 3 to 5 foot within these fish, they were coming on a dead sprint, and you just start reeling. And they were thumping it, even with the weight I had above the jig. They were thumping it so hard, there was no questions asked. I was whacking them. So I caught probably 2 limits worth of fish. I threw them all back, just kind of checking for trips coming up. Me and Brad actually had a phone call today about lunchtime. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting ready to go to the lake." He said, "Is that wind not blowing?" I said, "I'm waiting for it to get as windy as it can so I can go find places out of it. Because this March, I'm really starting to book a lot of trips, and I don't want to cancel that many because of the wind this year. So I'm trying to find places out of just terrible wind." And I did that today. So it's well worth the trip. But sometimes you got to let the wind, because I've told myself sometimes on a really windy day, I'll roll out there in the early morning and I'm like, oh, good, this is out of the wind, catch them before lunch and go. And then you realize lunchtime, 1 o'clock is when the wind really picks up and blows your spot out. So I try to go when it's really blowing. But Grand Lake's looking real good so far, definitely.
And I see some questions up here, guys. Let's keep those questions coming. And, kind of like Dustin both have said on these reports, we're targeting pre-spawn fish right now. And I don't think in all these lakes they're fully committed to that pre-spawn. And even Dustin and I were talking about this afternoon, a lake like Ross Barnett, the spawn ranges a long period of time. And the spawn can actually be kind of tricky. And everybody has the perception that, these fish all hit the bank and it's just plentiful and you're just ripping them out nonstop. And there's days like that, of course, that we all remember and all dream about too. But
at the peak,
the thing about the spawn that I've noticed really is you'll find fish in 20 foot of water. You might find fish in 15 foot of water. You might find fish in 10 foot of water. And then all of a sudden you're going to find some fish in a foot of water. So the population's actually kind of spread out whenever you're getting into these spawn periods, and especially in this pre-spawn, because we'll have some fish already move shallow, I'm sure. I haven't seen any too shallow as far as spawning on Barnett yet. I haven't been there in about 3 or 4 days, but I'm sure they're moving there, especially with these warm temps that we have. But I feel very confident, too, that I can go back and find these fish still in deep water as well. I don't think I'll find a big pile of them necessarily, but I feel I'll find enough to catch them. But these fish all through the spawn will not be in the same area. You'll find some deep, some mid-water depth, and even some shallow. So you've always got to keep in mind where are those active fish at, and just keep eliminating whatever waters you're fishing. And like I said, last Thursday, whenever I fished the reservoir, was the prime example of just keep eliminating things until you come across something that works. But I see somebody asking about fishing in the wind. I'm going to try to go back to the comment. We've got guys, keep those comments coming. They're rocking tonight too. Appreciate everybody. Yeah. Also, get that like button when I go back.
That was the thing with Grand is I didn't find tons of number, but it was enough in the deep water that you could get away with catching enough. It just take you a little bit longer, but it was still a great bite. Like I said, when they're that aggressive, it's awesome to watch them come firing up that far.
There's a couple of different ways. In springtime, I think of wind, and like I said, Dustin and I talked to this afternoon quite a while, but the wind is always going to be a factor in the springtime. No matter where I've ever fished, I haven't never been blessed where it's just constantly no wind, but wind is going to be a part of the spring. So there's a couple of different ways that you can kind of combat that. There's going to be days that you cannot fish a lot of areas of the lake, and that's what we've been having here around the lakes that I'm fishing at. Is there's a lot of water that we can't fish just due to the wind. So you've got to kind of make do to what you can. But I think of a technique, and a lot of guys know what I'm going to say is, long line, and that's one of those techniques that it doesn't really affect the presentation of the bait. So I can have those line stretched back, 80, 100, 110 feet back behind the boat, and any kind of rocking motion or anything else, all it does is actually kind of help the presentation, a bait speeding up and slowing down a little bit. So that's a really good way to actually combat fishing in the pre-spawn pattern in these windy conditions, is learn a technique like long lining. Let's don't forget these techniques that have worked for generations now, almost, I guess generations, but it's worked a long time for me anyway, that can still put fish in the boat whenever you got these windy days, just like we've had for the last 6 days in a row, seems like.
Yeah, sure.
But he's also, on these winter days, whenever I'm live scoping, I'm increasing my sinker weight. I like to use as little of weight as possible whenever I'm dropping on fish as far as live scoping goes. But as that wind gets higher and we're having to get close to the fish, or the boat's moving and the rod's moving because of wind, increase your weight size above your jig to help kind of keep it pinned down a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's see if we got some more fish reports. I know we do.
Looky here. We got Kathy Crawford. She just said she cleaned the limit from Grand yesterday. 8 males, 7 females. Hardly any eggs in the females. 35 foot deep. Not sure why so few of eggs. Kathy, I'm not quite sure of the reason for the number of eggs. But did you catch these off of a dock 35 foot deep, or were you out on the lake? I got to have a little bit more on that fishing report now. I'm guessing you were more towards the dam catching them that deep, because today there were 25, 28. That's deep. I know, it's crazy. But it seemed like, too, the numbers of fish were more of the 40 to 60 foot of water than they were. And I couldn't find them in shallower water. So they're definitely still down there a ways. No doubt.
Mr. Jeff Marter from Lake Chico over in Arkansas, he said, the creeks have been on fire over there. Wind has been tough. Suspended fish will bite in Main Lake if there is no boat slap. And that's another good thing when it comes to long line and jigs. You ain't got to worry about boat slap a lot of times, because if you spook them off and you're using these longer poles and the bait's far away from you, it's not going to affect that necessarily. Another thing that I put on my boat, and guys, I've just been sold by this product that I put on the boat back in December, and it's power brakes for live scoping. Those trolling motors on the back, and just like their logo says, game changer. And those things are just magical whenever you got to go and you got a boat slap just to go with the wind to kind of cut down on that. And I had several people comment and ask me about those. And I do have them mounted actually on my talons. They make a bracket to fit on talons. So another great piece of equipment that you can add to your boat to help you catch more fish.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, Kathy said she caught them on.
You must be way down.
Brush, 35 foot deep. Man, that's great. That's awesome. Hey, it's nice that they're getting on timber. Usually they're not on brush piles this time of year, so that's good they're there. And I bet they're really aggressive too when you get it around that brush, so even better. Good work on catching the slabs at Grand Lake. I'm proud of you. Grand Lake is a beast this time of year. Sometimes it can be tough.
I think that's just part of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Gary Rowe asked you a question. Yeah. Oh, Gary Rowe, nice to see you on here, buddy. One of our Bobby Garland brothers. He asked, what size of jig head do you use and what speed do you go on those when you're pulling?
Gary, that's a wide range of questions there, but I pull anywhere from a single 32nd all the way to a single quarter in some circumstances. But here lately, I've been pulling 2 1/8s, tied about 3 foot apart, anywhere from 80 to 100 foot of line out of the back, and that's just good. A lot of guys know what I'm gonna say. Just a good old country cast out of the back of the boat, and pulling about 1.2 to 1.3, and that should get my jigs roughly about 12 foot deep. Doing that combination and that speed. Well, that would. You better have some of them dudes there too. I
bet that would be a killer on Grand Lake right now for sure. I know.
It's been money.
When they move up, of course, I wouldn't be trying to pull for them 30 foot down there. But
No. Kemp, he's fished a tournament over Barnett Lake, North Carolina this past week and weighed in 1186. Very good stringer. Thought we had it pretty good. Well, top 15 had plus 12 plus pounds. Winner had 1503. Big fish of 306. Man, that's a pretty impressive lake right there. Then
that's a heck of a sack. John Mayo said, praying for lots of rain. He's got the waders ready. He's ready to go yank them out of the bushes late March. John, I bet that's a blast. It's nice to see you on here as well. Thank you guys all for commenting and telling us, just saying how's it going and everything. Just a little comment. Appreciate you guys. It's hard to get all of you, but I do appreciate all of them for sure.
Absolutely. Right now I think we got 275 people watching total. I see 124 likes. So guys, let's see if we can light up that plus button, that like button on there right now.
Light it up.
Light it up. I see 128. Let's see if we can pop 200. 280 people watching right now. So I'm sure you guys, if you got a minute, go ahead and hit that like button for us. It helps us out more than you can ever imagine. Like I said, hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube side of things, and also Facebook. If you hadn't hit follow, go ahead and hit the follow button too. You guys are what makes today's bite, along with Bobby Garland Baits. Cannot thank that company enough for what they do for Dustin and I in today's bite, and making sure we do this every week. They make sure we stay on top of this machine, because this is what it is for me. It's a machine almost.
Definitely. We got another good fishing report before I knock him out here. Oh, just knocked him out. Josh Bolware, he just put in a good fishing report, and right. I'm actually in the Bobby Garland picture there with him. That's Josh Bolware, but we went and wrecked some giant fish here not too long ago. And I'll tell you, I bet you he was saying he caught him southeast Kansas, probably 2 to 10 foot deep, and you're gonna have to read it, Brad. I know you see it. Come on now.
Man, you're way ahead of me, dude.
Okay. You stay down there so we don't miss nobody, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you catch up to him later then. We'll catch up to him later.
I see Carlos. Carlos, hit me a message, man. Text me, and I'm going to try to get your ruler out next week, or actually this week.
Yeah.
Dust Dash is on me.
Man.
I want to run a contest. I still got, I think, 3 or 4. So if you guys can help me out with a good contest to give away some more of these Dust Dash. I think I'm going to have an extra Dust Dash or 2 rulers. And also the Crappie Connection ruler. I've been using one in my boat. Dustin.
Yeah, I ain't got mine yet, but
you can't yet. But help me come up with a cool contest to do that thing, and I'd love to give a couple away to you fellas and fellowettes. I know I have some great female guests too watching.
Absolutely. Oh, Dustin Shields said #baby stash. #20.
That's right.
That's funny. Hey, Charles Henderson said he gave you some hugs. He said you're coming around on the hugs, and he's got one. He gave you one Saturday.
That's all he gets for the remainder of the year, though. I mean, I'll have to ask Charles now. He's cut off for the rest of the year on hugs. I'm not a big huggy person.
Charles,
but I gave him a hug. He come down to the Bass Pro Shops for Crappie Madness, so he got a hug.
That is funny. Good stuff.
I loved it. Just hanging out with guys is awesome.
Oh yeah.
I got a question. Les Strickland from YouTube, he's saying, how deep do you think the crappie are? Lake temperature 55 degrees. Man, that's a hard question. And like I said earlier, you probably caught it already, but they could be anywhere from 2 foot of water, especially if you've got a area of the lake that's shallow. And if your main lake's 55, that water temperature could be 4 or 5 degrees warmer. Further back, you get shallower in some areas. So they could be from 2 foot of water right now all the way to 20 foot. And that's probably not really what you wanted to hear. But honest to God, that's the answer I would give you to be
I would say 55, though. You can find them roaming somewhere in a secondary creek channel. I'd be going into channels and trying to find them roaming. Depending on your water clarity, it'd be how high they're setting up. But, yeah, I'd still say you're looking for a channel or something like that. Depending on what lake, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. But, I mean, just get out there and keep eliminating. That's the name of the game when it comes to crappie fishing.
Eliminating water.
Crappie Lake has been fire this past weekend. Blue ice was the go-to color. Fish were anywhere from 2 to 8 foot down in 8 to 15 foot of water. Mouths of creeks to halfway back of them. That's a great report, James. Definitely appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah, that's perfect. Chris Jameson asked you, Brad, do you ever run your live scope unit on perspective during the spawn?
Not probably as much as I need to. For me, if I still spider rigged a whole lot in the front, I think perspective would be totally awesome. I just haven't used perspective all that much. I still use my forward facing sonar even whenever I'm live scoping, and kind of how I have my boat rigged up. I have actually my console can see the live scope transducer up as front as well. So I kind of keep an eye on, even at my console, whenever I'm long lining, of what the fish are doing out in front of me. And that way, if I see them all of a sudden really high in the water column, and I know my baits are going anywhere from 10 to 12 foot deep, and I see a bunch of fish at 8 foot, I know I can speed up my trolling motor at that point, make those baits rise, and surely by the time they get to them, the baits will be at the right depth and catch them. Or vice versa. I can slow it down if I see them suspended out in front of me some. So I still use live sonar, even live long line and jigs. I don't rely on it as much as I do, of course, as I'm just picking off suspended fish, but I still even use it when then.
Yeah, I've never used perspective mode too much. I know a good friend of mine, Jeff Larch, just is very good at using the perspective on shallow flats and stuff, sizing up the fish and can really use it. He has one under his forward facing, so he finds them on perspective and then catches them with the forward. And that's really slick. He'll just kind of see the backs of them and size them up, run over there, catch it. It's wild how he does it, but it's just a whole nother thing to learn. And I just use board. And then when they're spawning strong, like it seems like you're talking about, Chris, is I'm turning the live scope off nearly and just casting a slip cork to the bank on some hot spots anywhere there's a twig sticking up. Really on grands how it seems like I do the best. But I told that fella to go fish their creeks. Carlos said, we don't have any water in our creeks, Dustin. Grenada's that low, I guess. So, Carlos, I'm sorry.
Carlos, what is the lake level at Grenada right now?
What is the lake level? Do we have any water up under the bridge, if you know what I'm saying? I'm coming down there next week for the tournament. So that's kind of where I'm curious what the water level is, too, for sure. That's going to change.
Yeah, I'd like to know the water level up there.
Yeah.
Got Mr. Chad Rogers. I see he gave us a report. Sardis, no Magnolia Crappie Club had a tournament there this weekend, and man, they had some heavy weights come off of that tournament as well. Yeah. I know it was at least 3 stringers over 16 pounds, which is pretty stout with 7 fish.
I know Sullivan, I think, was one of them. He gets on here a lot. Congrats to you, man. We actually had him on the show. Do what?
I think he'd come in second or maybe third.
Second or third, and yeah, I remember him coming on here one of our shows. But he's a great fisherman, always on. So congratulations to that finish. That was a great little turnout there on the tournament. Okay, so Carlos said 200 foot and falling.
Ooh,
is that pretty low?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you like it, Brad? I know you have a personal number.
Absolutely.
You love it. What is it?
206.
206. So it's 6 foot low then. Doggone it.
206. Carlos, what's your favorite lake level? Some of you Grenada fellas, let's hit some comments. Well, what's your favorite lake level at Grenada? I'm going to stick it to 206, 207.
What's crazy is 206 is actually a huge difference there because it's so flat. So 6 foot would really bring it a lot higher.
Yeah. I can imagine how low it is at 200.
That's crazy.
Jeffrey Puckett from YouTube from Lake Washington County Lake, Southern Illinois, water temp 46 to 48 degrees. Did pretty good on brush piles out of the wind in 13 foot of water. Caught them on any profile as long as that had orange. I like the orange colored baits, man. That's that mud dogger there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Another quick note too for you guys: if you order some Bobby Garland baits off lurenet.com, use the discount code Crappie Connection 15, get you 15% off, and that's on LureNet. All these different colors and bait styles that we're talking about, you can find them on lurenet.com. Also, some exciting news that we heard this afternoon is gonna be some Bobby Garland apparel coming out soon.
Oh yeah, that will be awesome. I
Can't wait.
Yep, I got a picture of it actually today. It's looking epic. I'm gonna love it for sure. Time we stuff up. Oh, Carlos and Chad are in the 230s. Chad Rogers said 230. Carlos said 235. Man, that's way.
They're wanting them in the bushes. That's what they're wanting them in. That would be great for the lake. That's for sure.
Okay, yeah. They probably say that because, so they get a good spawn, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe they can just run way further back on those fish. Who knows?
Hook 76 says, Brad, they're ready 2 foot of water, mostly males. That does not shock me at the least on some of these lakes, especially after this temperature. I'm not sure what lake you're talking about, but I'm sure there's a lot of fish in 2 foot of water in some bodies of water.
John Boat, which no way. If that's actually your name, dude, that is epic. But John Boat checking in from Lake Marion. So nice to see you. Thanks for commenting on here. And nice to hear from you, but I love the name, John Boat.
I do too.
That's epic.
Maybe that's what we can name your kid, Boat.
I'm starting to like it, John Boat.
I know we just got to.
I don't know. I could come up with a lot of good. Bobby.
Dustin Boat.
Yeah.
Dusty Boat. Come on, we'll figure it out. I mean, we'll figure it out.
John Mayo said I better bring the cane pole because we might be fishing from the bank the next week.
Talking about John Mayo, and it's not. I think I've got it scheduled for mid-April. Did a podcast with John Mayo and John Harrison of Mississippi about wading. That those two guys let out some secrets coming in that podcast. It's going to come out in April about wade fishing.
That's awesome. That's one thing I'd love to do if you guaranteed me there was no gators in the water.
Oh, there's no gators in the water. Okay. I got a question from Nick. He's asking, what is the best color for pre-spawn?
That's a tough one. You know, we also got one on here that said, do we have a go-to color for a year-round bait, or maybe it was a spawn bait, just a go-to color? And my go-to color is the pecan cream, of course. I got a message about it today, but hey, pecan cream's one of my favorites. That's going to be one I would throw on, because when I think spawn, I think muddier water, dingier water, and shallower bite. And that pecan cream, you're getting close to mayflies and just a good dingy colored bait. I love the pecan cream for that instance, for that right there.
You know, for me, where I fish at 90% of the time, especially in the springtime, we're talking about pre-spawn patterns. You know, I'm going to say the mud dauber, and that's the baby shad. And they have that in the itty bit slab hunters and the regular size slab hunters and baby shad. But that would probably be my go-to color when it comes to pre-spawn fishing for me.
Fair enough.
Kobe, he said he's seen that video. He said he was afraid that fish was going to get off that back hook. And man, I was too. That was a bad thing. I had a client reeling them in, and I'm trying to hold my cell phone without dropping in the lake and falling in the lake myself and try to net it. So it wasn't the most graceful, netting job I ever did.
I wasn't going to comment. I wasn't going to comment on that. But it definitely had.
I was just like, oh my God.
When you got the first one on accident, I'm like, oh man, I just got nervous for you, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was holding my breath too. Don't worry.
Hey, Kelly Zimmerman asked, are the fish measuring scales for sale? The scales. I tried to get a hold of the person for the crappie ruler and didn't really get a reply either. I might have hit the wrong Facebook page, but I'm not sure. Brad will be the guy to know that one.
Yeah, he is selling both of these to my knowledge. And like I said, help me come out with a contest, and we'll do a contest. And I've got a few spare to do.
He'll customize them for you too, right? I mean, you could build some up. That's kind of what I was wanting to do, is maybe like build some up or buy some extras or something. I use those a lot, especially having a 10-inch limit here at Grand Lake. I'm using that ruler all the time, so that would be handy. Working Man says, come on, I'll take you wading, Dustache. Dude, wading is on my bucket list for sure. When they're on, that would be one of the funner trips. I'm telling you, hand-to-hand combat, standing in the water with them, that's just going right in there and taking care of business. That sounds fun.
I haven't waded a whole lot because typically I'm fishing out of the boat and guiding people in the springtime just about every day. I have some, and it is fun. The only thing I will say, and it kind of comes even back from this podcast that's coming out in April about wading, that's going to give you a lot of tips. But uh, John Harrison said it even on a podcast before with me, but wear some kind of belt around your suspenders in case you fall in a hole, you don't fill them up full of water. It was probably one of the most, just a tip that you cannot go wading without having a belt cinched around your waist. That way, if you slip down or step in a hole, it doesn't fill your waders up. So just a little safety tip when it comes to wading that I wanted to throw out there for you guys.
Yeah.
Because we need every one of you keep watching today's bite every week.
Hey, one of the coolest things I'll tell you real quick on a wading, I guess a wading adventure, the only one that I've really ran into is I got way back when I was scouting Grenada one time, way back because I could see all these guys wade fishing. I'm like, maybe these fish are just super, super shallow. And I got way back up kind of by these bushes. You know, it wasn't in the bushes. This was maybe 3 years ago or 4. I mean, first time I ever fished Grenada. But there was a guy wade fishing back there, and he said he was just acting kind of weird, and he'd filling with his feet. And then he'd get into somewhere, and he'd start dipping down, and he's just yanking these fish out. And I was thinking he was on the stake bed or something, and I start kind of talking to him because it's funny, Brad, you know how the lake kind of sets up. You can get right up next to a wade fisherman almost, and they're just standing there. I'm trying to live scope what he's looking at. I can't even hardly see anything because he's just a little bit shallower. But it's so flat that you can make it out. And we start talking, and I'm looking for fish. He said he was feeling for the rut tracks of a four-wheeler. Or a side-by-side, and when his feet would kind of go off in it, he could line his jig up, and I mean, bang, he would whack one. Now, they weren't giants, but they were just good-sized fish. And I'm like, you got to be – he said if you got out of the four-wheeler track, you wasn't catching one. I'm just like – now that is
like a creek.
That is the craziest thing I think I've ever seen. He was kind of on a flat, but he was going in these tracks where the buggy or four. I'm like, I would have never guessed that, but he said these fish know, and they will sit right in the track like the divot. And I thought that is a genius idea. Just follow your bait right down the trail. That's fun.
I got Holly Martin's asking. She said, "Do you ever use any attractants on your jigs?"
Absolutely. I know I do. Hey, me and Brad have together. I know he does as well because we've gotten in one of those grooves the last time we fished together, and it's kind of that time of year when you get into the winter fish coming into spawn and they get into funky patterns sometimes. I'm not afraid to throw some bait or some scent on my bait at all kinds of different, for sure. I think even if it don't help, it gives me enough confidence to help, but I've seen it help way too many times. Actually, the latest trip I was just on, let's see which one I took these guys out. Oh yeah, I just took the preacher out from Wichita, and we were putting it on. We had a few fish come up and touch the bait and not eat it. And I said, I got to get this bait. I followed the same fish. We did this twice. We dropped on the fish that didn't eat, and I followed the fish while they were digging out the scent. And while we're chasing the fish, put the scent on the same fish, dropped back down, caught it. Did that twice. So I think scent works wonders sometimes. It's definitely a time and place for it.
You know, to me, it's one of those things that I don't feel like it would ever hurt you. So on a good bite, I don't worry about it, to be honest. But on those tougher days, I'm that fisherman who's going to throw the kitchen sink at them from changing colors, profiles, and I'm going to put scent on there and some different things as well. But mainly, I don't feel like it hurts anything. So if you've got some in your boat, you got a little tough bite kicking with you, throw it on there. I definitely never seen it hurt anything.
Exactly.
I don't know what happened there.
I was going to say you just disappeared on me, but I've actually used when I first started fishing a long time ago. I was stuck on when I was bass fishing, dipping the tail in that garlic. It dyes your bait. You know what I'm talking about?
Spike it.
It seems like I'd get a few more bites with that too. That spike it was the real deal.
John Freeman's asking. He says, "What kind of jig bodies do I use whenever I'm longlining?" And if I'm going to be long lining, I'm going to use the Bobby Garland stroller. I've been using that bait for at least 12 years now. When they came out with it, I was instantly attracted to it. And I've literally caught, and I'm not boasting, it is what it is, thousands upon thousands of crappie on the Bobby Garland stroller. Complete confidence when it comes to long lining.
100%.
Bubba Vance. He said, the boat docks at Ross have been very slow. Not sure where the fish went, but nothing biting at all today. I'm thinking the moonlight nights have them all feeding into the all day. Any thoughts?
I think the moonlight does definitely have those fish on a feeding frenzy. Kind of like here I go back to hunting again. But a full moon on the deer, it just really seems like they'll move a lot during the night. Same thing with fish. I think crappie pick up right before dark and start feeding frenzy, and they feed at night, and that's why sometimes it can be tough during the day. You gotta. It's why I feel like we're finding out the midday bite starts to be a little bit better because they're so stuffed and wore out in the morning from feeding. That 9 to noon range starts to pick up.
You know, it's hard to say with that particular scenario. I don't like a full moon. If I had to choose between a new moon and a full moon, I would pick the anything but a full moon. So it could definitely have a impact on it. And kind of like Dustin, I think it's more of a midday thing when it comes to full moon. I don't really like it, but you just got to go fishing anyway, so you just got to deal with it.
Best way to do it is just go fishing, because we just had a full moon and a clear sky day the last trip we went out, and it was one of the best trips I've been on in a long time. So, and it was a little bit wind, and it was southeast wind with 0 cloud in the sky, and it was a full moon. Even the clients were like, "Man, what did they say?" Actually, I know one of them's watching here. This is another one, because I went on two clear sky days here recently with the full moon, and Gary from I believe Little Rock, when we just went, he said they have a fish finder. I wish he would comment on here. It's called something that just tells them it's like the pressure, the wild game meter or something. And they said, man, it was awful low. It had us worried. It was on like 20% or something. And I said, hey, sometimes you just never know. We absolutely mauled the fish, and they said that thing lied to them.
Yeah, I agree, and you just got to keep on rolling with it. And if I get time, I might come out there to the pier tomorrow and see if I can catch any over there with you guys. I got some things I want to film tomorrow, but if I can get through with everything I need to in the morning, I might have to sneak over there to those Ross piers you're talking about and see what we can do with them. Let me see. I got some more questions, guys. Keep them coming, and we'll keep on trying to answer them as well as we can. We got 220 likes. If you hadn't hit that like button yet, go ahead and hit that for me. Let's see. We're at 220. I think we can get at least another 50. And guys, if you're watching or listening to this later on, I know we've got a ton of people that don't get to tune in live with us every week. But if you're watching this, even if we're not live, hit that like button. It shows up in our feed. Every comment that you post on there, Dustin and I both read them all the different times throughout the week. I try to answer them even throughout the week. So if you're watching this even on a Monday night, 6 days later from now, comment on there, and we'll try to get you answered up on things.
For sure. Hey, John Boat said bacon grease also works wonders. Just cook a few pieces of bacon and use it on the jig. Now, that's wild. I can't say I've ever heard that, but that's funny. I mean, heck, at that point, you just could eat bacon that's a win-win there. Charles Henderson, the Grenada tournament next week is actually that Friday and Saturday, I believe, is the days of the tournament for Grenada. It'll be the Crappie Masters one. So I need to get that sucker checked in on that already. I think it's 8th and 9th or something like that of March. So hopefully I'm right on my next week thing. But
Matt, he said he caught a 312 during the Magnolia tournament in 10 foot of water at Sardis.
Holy shit. A 312 at Sardis. That's a hog. That's a hog.
Jonah, he hit the res. He said he went a couple days ago to the res, and I don't know. He said he had $4,000 worth of damages. I don't know what happened there, but definitely be careful out there in those kind of winds. You got to really prepare on where you can fish, to stay safe out in this stuff, man. So, Jonah, man, we need you to keep on around here. So be safe out on that water. Wear your kill switch, number one thing, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And for all you wade fishermen, now that it's on the topic, it just kind of reminded me. The rod is actually in the room here, but Power Crappie just come out with a wading rod. And now it's not specifically it's specifically built for wading, but I've been using it for a little bit of everything. It's kind of fun. It's a little lighter, and they've got the handle pushed up to the front. What's that called, Brad? Yeah, the reel seat's just at the very end.
Rear reel seat.
Rear reel seat. That's what it is. And it's 10.5 foot. It's a bad boy, or 11.5 foot, but it's a bad boy for the wading fishermen there. And they float. It's bright orange. You can't lose it in the bushes. Look them up. They're on the website now for powercrappie.com, but that's a great rod to use for the wading.
I got Adam. He said he's just learning to river fish right now. How long do you keep finding them on the river channel edge of stumps? Water temps are just hitting 50. You know, Adam, at least for me, with river fishing, current is probably one of the most factors that there is to learn. And I would love to tell you that I have totally mastered as far as river fishing goes. Just like last week, I was saying earlier, I'm still learning. I still keep discovering things, but I think the magic when it comes to river fishing is always going to be finding the eddies off of the current is going to be the magic token. So I think you'll continue finding them on the river channel. At least if they're anything like these fish that I fish for, there's always going to be some out there in that deeper water, no matter what phase of the spawn that we get into. But look for the eddies. Slack water section on the edge of current is always going to be the key for me when it's fishing river systems.
For sure. Slack water is key on the rivers for sure. Them crappie just don't like that current.
I keep on. All right, I got Jerry. He's asking, can you effectively longline with just one pole on each side? Jerry, to be honest with you, no, I don't think so. I think I wouldn't necessarily go out there and start long lining with, say, 8 poles, but I would definitely go out there and long line with at least 4. That would probably be the least amount that I would go with. And even on that, I would go with the longest pole that you can get your hands on. And my setup for springtime long lining is a 8-foot, 12-foot, 16, and a 20. And those are B&M Pro Staff trolling poles that I use in those lengths. So I would get the longest that I could, and then probably say, and I know 20 is going to blow your mind if you've never long lined before, but I would go for giant. 18 or a 20, and then like a 10 or a 12. That way I would have plenty of line separation and be able to really get away from the boat as well. I know 20 foot. It's a task, but it's a very effective ticket when it comes to long lining.
Okay, so we got a question. It seems like gets thrown up here quite a bit, so we're just going to let Brad run through it real quick. But okay. Paul said, "What colors do you use sunny, overcast days in stained muddy water?" I know we get hit with that one quite a bit, but yep. Paul, thank you for commenting on here. And guess what? You can ask it 4 more times next Tuesday, and we'll answer it again.
That's right. Every week. And yes, I love them. All right, let me see again. Sunny?
And yeah, just a
muddy
sunny,
water?
Overcast.
Okay. Cloudy. Muddy water?
Yes, in stained muddy water.
Yeah. I got it.
I already know.
do you want to guess it?
Hey, I'll guess the
mud dauber. Guess?
A mud dauber. Oh, wow. All right, go ahead.
You got to give me one more guess.
Hang on, I'll give one more.
I'll give you a hint on this one there, Dustin.
I'm going on the June bug. I don't know why.
No.
Huh?
Think back when I came and me and you fished at Kerr Lake.
Ooh, I know exactly where you're going there. Grenada Gold, baby.
Grenada Gold, baby.
Yes, sir. Someone actually just asked about that color. They said they were having a hard time finding it.
It's back in production now. I talked to them at Bobby Garland. They've added it back to the selection. I was like, dude, we got to get it back in there. People are just going to, like me, faint over it. We don't get it. It is back production. It will be on LureNet here before long, so they should have them out pretty soon. Hopefully some of those guys are watching, and they can maybe even step it up some for you guys, but it should be back on LureNet here really soon. But I'm thinking muddy water, sunny days.
Yep.
Grenada Gold, baby.
A muddy water sunny day for me will be a double silver rainbow. I've really grown to love that. And if you notice, both of those baits we're talking about, I got a double silver rainbow actually. Man, I thought I did anyway. Double silver rainbow actually has a lot of glitter in it, and so does Brad's Grenada Gold. So if you kind of can put that puzzle together, for sunny days, it seems like a glitter bait is my go-to for sure. And then a cloudy day, I'm going with more of a natural silver style bait, and I love the live minnow or a threadfin shad, and both of those are my favorites for the cloudy days. But hey, real quick, let me fix my mess up here. Ken, the owner of Power Crappie, corrected me. It's 10 foot, not 10 and a half. But this is the rear seat rod here. And
rear seat.
Yeah, just had my wife bring it up to me. But it's got the foam grip handle, and it's got little finger grooves in there. It's super slick, super light rod. And it is fun hooking them with it. But you can see it's kind of a really bright orange. It says the Little Riddle rod. That'll get you a tongue twisted, a little riddle. But it is on their website, guys, powercrappie.com. That's a super cool rod to try out, especially if you're a wade fisherman or just close to the bank fisherman. You can cast a slip.
It's very safe too. You don't get shot. You know, the blade's orange.
Yeah, exactly.
It's safety as well.
It's like bright orange, going through the woods, but very slick rod.
Mark Fisher caught a limit Saturday on Lake Wister in Oklahoma in 10 foot of water, fished 4 to 8 foot deep, staging for spawn. Tried shallow, and they're just not quite there yet. But any day, I agree with you, man. That lake is actually on my hit list. I've been to several in Oklahoma, but Wister is on my hit list.
Yeah, man, we were so close when we went to Kerr, too, I'm telling you. I bet he caught some big ones in that shallow water like that.
I'm trying to see if I got any more questions, guys. It's been a great show. Seen up to 275 people watching at once. Awesome. We got 250 likes. Appreciate you guys. Got a lot of good stuff coming out this spring. Dustin and I actually, he's on a podcast that we're going to release tomorrow. It should drop around 5 p.m. on YouTube.
Oh, who's that one? Who'd we do with it there?
It is Mr. Dan Mueller, and it is signs to look for as the spawn. I might have that title messed up. Let me double check. But Dustin and I and Dan Mueller, that's another tongue twister. Dan Mueller's a tongue twister.
I ain't trying it.
Let me see the name of that show. Looking for signs that crappie are spawning. Looking for the signs that crappie are spawning. It drops tomorrow. A lot what we're talking about tonight. So if you hadn't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button on that deal as well. It's going to drop tomorrow about 5 o'clock. So make sure you tune into that. It was a fun.
One little tidbit before I roll off of here is one of the signs was commented tonight. A little bit of something about a dogwood a blooming. I've seen somebody saying something about something blooming. I think we talked about that a little bit on that show, if I remember right.
Yeah,
but guys, I really, it's way down there now, but I really appreciate you guys commenting, all the fishing reports and everything. I guess we'll be seeing you hopefully just with a little bit. I think the fishing is going to get better from here on out, Brad. I don't know about you. We got this nasty little cold front hitting tonight through to tomorrow. And then once it starts warming up, man, these fish are going to be on the prowl. I'm excited.
I know I'm planning on fishing a lot between here and next Tuesday as well. Another thing I got really exciting coming up is I'll be fishing with In Fisherman TV for about 3 or 4 days. Hopefully it don't take 4 days to do a couple episodes, but I'm going to film with In Fisherman TV before long. Cannot wait to do that. Done it in the past, but it's been about 5 or 6 years ago since I fished with those guys. So it'll be a real fun thing to do. Very privileged to do those kind of things. And for the going out there and showing everybody what I love to do. Crappie Connection Apparel is on Crappie Forever's website. Guys, still take advantage of that. I think we still even got a sale going on with that stuff on this month. And it should be Crappie Connection 15, a discount code to get you a little bit of discount on some Crappie Connection gear on Crappie Forever's website. Appreciate you guys for coming on here every week. 259 likes. We're almost at 260. Listen, one more person hit that like button for us before we get off here tonight. I know you can do it. But definitely appreciate everybody coming on here. Let me see if I got any questions that definitely want to answer before I get off here. Steve asking, Brad, do you ever use planter boards? I have ran planter boards. I think they're really effective. And actually, I got a podcast that I've recorded as well about that. It'll be later on. And that's a really good postponed summertime thing to do is running playing boards. Some guys have really good luck with them running in the springtime. Me personally, I like whenever the fish go back after spawn and they spread out and scatter a lot. But yeah, I have and I do, and they're very effective in crappie fishing.
Good cover.
2:30. Man, I'm way behind y'all guys. I'm
I
almost
bet you
260.
I covered most of you. I appreciate it, Gary, John Mayo, John Breland. Appreciate you guys very much.
Next Tuesday night, we'll be back here. Today's bite. Thank you, everybody. Till next week, you got Brad Chappell here.
And
Holla.
Mustache. Holla.